All right, shalom, shalom, which is Hebrew for peace be unto you. This is part 5 to the series, the Gregorian versus the lunar or ecclesiastical calendar. We have just entered the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So that's actually a wonderful thing to be able to keep that and be blessed by the Most High with the awareness and wisdom to know to keep this holy day and to stay in his good graces. Now, part 4 of this series, which I kept making mistakes saying this is part 5 and part 6, Salak, forgive me for that. I will try not to make that mistake in this being part 5. This is part 5. But what we covered in part 4 is I went through a online reference and source and also gave you guys the link and the literature connected to that source, and we'll review that real quick. The link was www.ucg.org/the-good-news/what-are-the-origins-of-Easter. And in that video, we went into how this celebration with the chocolate bunny rabbits and the painting of the eggs of diverse colors, eggs of a chicken, or could be eggs of a snake, being painted in diverse colors, weren't mentioned anywhere in the scriptures in listing the Most High's holy days. They weren't listed in the book of Leviticus chapter 23, nor in the book of Esther or in First Maccabees. So you have to wonder, where did these customs or traditions come from? So let's take a look at this, right? Now, one would say that even though the origins of this so-called holiday are pagan, that's not my purpose. I only do this thing in recognition of the resurrection of Hamashiach and for my family, which is of a your intent is good, but we want to break this thing down accurately, and I'm not trying to preach or come down on anyone. It's just my job as the sower of the seed is to drop the seed, and my job is done. So what I'm doing here is just dropping seeds, and hopefully they catch, and hopefully they grow. So I have my scriptures here, right? And I want to go over a few things before I get my next couple witnesses on the origin of this so-called holiday, and it's going to tie back into the Gregorian versus the ecclesiastical or lunar calendar. So let's go to Romans chapter 10 and verse 2. Let's go to Romans chapter 10 and verse 2. And let's see what the Most High has to say about situations such as these. So, Romans chapter 10 and verse 2. And we'll start at verse 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to the Most High for Yasharal is that they might be saved. Right? And then verse 2 says, for I bear them record they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. So, what Paul is saying here in the book of Romans is, yeah, I see people that have a lot of zeal for the Most High, but it's not according to knowledge. It's not in the right way. It's not of a just weight. It's not in a just balance, right? So let's take this and take it to the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. And I'm going to just go to my prophets here. Bear with me as I navigate the prophets here. But we're going to go to the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. Because we just saw in Romans, I'm going to double check that, chapter 10 and verse 2, that Paul says, for I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge, right? So let's go over here to Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6, where the Most High speaks through the prophet Hosea, and he says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. For thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the laws of thy power, I will also forget thy children. So what we're seeing here is Paul saying, I bear them record. They have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. And then the Most High speaking through his prophet Hosea said, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So the Most High is saying that my people are not getting the proper knowledge on how to acknowledge me or serve me in the right way. So let's try to be mindful of these things. So let's see what Yahweh Shai says. Let's go to Mark chapter 7 and verse 7. Let's go to Mark chapter 7 and verse 7. Mark chapter 7 and verse 7. And we'll start at verse 5. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, they asked Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, who is supposed to be celebrated in this pagan holiday that just took place, but la'ah, not so. This so-called holiday is not about him because it's not according to knowledge, according to Romans 10 and 2. And then the Most High spoke through his prophet Hosea in Hosea 4 and 6, saying, my people perish through a lack of knowledge. So we're here in Mark 7 and verse 5. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands? He answered and said unto them, well hath Isaiah prophesied of you, hypocrites, as it is written, this people honoreth me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. And this is what you can kind of see with this holiday. People are saying that they're giving him reverence, but their actions are totally contradicting that, because they're actually giving reference to these pagan rituals and idols, even though they may not know it, because they have a zeal, but it's not according to knowledge. And the Most High spoke through his prophet Hosea saying, my people perish from a lack of knowledge. But let's go to verse 7. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Howbeit in vain do they worship me. So you worship him in vain when you teach the commandments of men, which are these traditions, these eggs and bunnies and egg hunts. These traditions didn't come out of these scriptures, out of the word of the Most High. These traditions came by the traditions of men, which Yahweh Shai say, you're worshiping me in vain because you're teaching for doctrine the commandments of men. So let's get one more precept for this small tidbit that we're going to have for part 5. So let's go to First Colossians. Let's go to First Colossians. We're going to go to First Colossians 2 and 8. First Colossians 2 and 8. Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians. And these are all epistles to the churches, because the churches themselves did have need of epistles and guidance, because even in the church there were some things that still had to be corrected. So let's get Colossians here. Peter, First John. Oops, I went past it. Salat. Okay, Colossians and Salat. There's only Colossians, not First Colossians, thinking of Corinthians. Colossians chapter 3 and verse 8. Salak. Chapter 2 and verse 8. Salak. Salak means my bad in Hebrew. So Colossians 2 and 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach. So we're seeing right here in the scriptures that these so-called holidays that don't come from the word of the Most High are the vain traditions of men, and they're not being done according to knowledge. So let's think on that for a while as we go into part 6, the real part 6 of this series, and break down some more of the Gregorian versus the ecclesiastical calendar. This is part 5. I will see you guys on part 6.